Pet Sematary Bloodlines is a 2023 supernatural horror film directed by Lindsay Anderson Beer. Beer. That sounds good right about now. Anyway. It is based on select sequences from Pet Sematary by Stephen King, specifically the ones involving Timmy Baterman. The film stars Jackson White, Forrest Goodluck, Jack Mulhern, Henry Thomas, Natalie Ann, Alan Lind, Isabella Starr LeBlanc, Samantha Mathis, Pam Grier, and Special Agent Mulder himself, David Duchovny, among others. It was a Paramount Plus exclusive. Anyway, let's get on with the review. The premise of Pet Sematary Bloodlines revolves around a young Judd Crandall, played by White, spending his last few days in Ludlow before he departs with his girlfriend Norma, played by Lind, to join the Peace Corps. Now, while this is going on, Bill Baterman, played by Duchovny, receives word that his son, Timmy, played by Mulhern, was sadly killed while stationed in Vietnam. So, not willing to let his son go, he decides to traverse up on the cursed ground past the Pet Sematary, and once the deed is done, all hell slowly starts to break loose. Now, it's up to Judd, his family, and friends to put an end to all of this horror that has begun to unfold. Despite the flack the film has gotten, I actually love how this entire premise went down. I feel like the reason why some people might have not liked it is because they felt that it wasn't necessary to make a movie out of a short chunk from the book, but I've always thought you could make a pretty decent movie out of that part, especially since King, given that it's a very short chapter, doesn't really get into what happens before Timmy is set on fire. You never really learn of the events that go down leading up to that moment when Baterman is killed. Yet I've always thought a movie could be made about them realizing how much corruption the burial ground has caused and therefore burning what it has corrupted. And I think this movie did a fine job of demonstrating all of that in a way that was paced very well. It was only 80-something minutes, which definitely helped with all of that. In true Pet Cemetery fashion, the horror doesn't start right away. It takes more of a slow burn approach while also alluding to a sinister threat that is prevalent throughout the film and slowly builds up to a surprisingly gruesome and very thrilling climax. I give premise a B+. I was very surprised on how well it all unfolded. Next is acting. I think the moments that were more of the heart, if you will, was when the acting was at its best. What I mean by that is that the scenes that were more emotional, especially when they involved death, were the places where the film shined the most, since it just made you feel even more invested, given how that's the way the burial ground manipulates you. It attacks you on a spiritual and emotional level. It makes it so you want to come to that cursed ground to commit the darkest magic that you can imagine. It does this by attacking those you love so that you'll end up interacting with the evil on that ground in hopes that will make everything better. The scenes that specifically illustrated this greatly and how manipulative the burial ground can be is the ones where David Duchovny's character was facing off with Timmy, was standing off with him, not to spoil anything, but he does become an ally in this film, unlike in the book, along with the scenes where one character has killed their siblings due to being murdered and brought back to life. However, you can tell that they both, just from their expressions alone, that they just can't bring themselves to do this despite the evil that is inside the person, given that to them, it'd be like killing the person they love, which ultimately is what the corrupt spirit inside of them wants and exploits them with. I give acting a B+. It was astonishingly good in some areas. And finally, directing. Lindsay Anderson Beer truly did do justice to this film and truly did capture the terrifying spirit of Pet Sematary. Like I said, this film takes a slight slow burn approach, but it's done in a way that helps to build the anticipation because it makes you wonder what it is all going to build up to, while ultimately making you anxious, given that it's unclear as to how everything will exactly conclude. You know that's going to end up to them trying to burn the undead Timmy Baterman alive, but given that there is a lot more opposing these characters, such as undead pets and even some undead people, you aren't sure as to whether they will win. You know not all will get out alive because of how much they have to go against, but thanks to the direction, you grow to like the characters to make you scared for all of them as the film slowly progresses. Lindsay also demonstrated quite possibly one of the scariest buried alive depictions ever. Won't say much, but damn was I on edge when I saw it. I give direction an A minus. I truly do admire the way Lindsay dealt with this film in terms of escalation and whatnot. Overall, Pet Sematary Bloodlines serves as a nice chapter in the Pet Sematary lineup. I think I might like it a little better than the 2019 one, given how much more of an emotional impact it surprisingly had on me, which the 2019 one actually really didn't compared to the 1989 one. But anyway, I still admire how this movie for capturing the horrifying essence of Pet Sematary, and also I like how it portrayed the burial ground as almost being cut off from the world, which I do believe to portray it as an otherworldly place really does help to capture the horror of it. I give Pet Sematary Bloodlines a B+. Not as bad as some people might say, and unfolds in a very satisfying way as well. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and sub for more content.